ourselves to the world and learn and get back. So I would like to wish you the best. And please do know all ambassadors from Africa residing here in the United States are very proud of you. And we are here to support you. I would like to suggest that also, if you reach out to the private sector, I did not hear much about what is the civil engagement. How can you challenge the private sector in Africa to really invest in young people so that we get all educated, whether you are in the rural community, whether you are in the urban community, or anywhere. And so there are opportunities for African investors, the private sector, to reach out to the private sector in the United States so that they can also, through private venture, respond to their civic engagement. So I thank you, and I'm sorry I have to go to another meeting, but please do know that all African ambassadors are with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Our next question? Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot, Beverly. I think mine was maybe to say thank you for this engagement, and Representative Bass, she just mentioned on the AGOA, which is one of the big things when you look at the relation between Africa and the United States of America, and her and other champions in both houses for getting this passed. So I'm going to jump because she said there's another forum next week to deal with that. But I would like to get a take from these young leaders that we have here, because this is, I believe, Africa's cream in terms of the young people. And last year, President Obama called the first U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. Now, this was because of a concept, and everybody cannot shy away from this, the whole Africa Rising concept. We're speaking about 10 of the fastest growing economies in the world. 6 of them are from Africa. Now, the world is aware of this. I want to find out. And actually, from that discussion last year and the discussions that are going on right now, is how do we collaborate? And I think it's quite important to just get a take from you as young people on this whole Africa Rising concept, and how you see the U.S.-Africa relationship growing, because I know from our side, we've seen it growing actually through the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which actually facilitated trade and created tremendous amounts of jobs, not only in Africa, but in the United States of America. So we're speaking about mutually beneficial relationships. How do you see yourself building on those and going to the future? Thank you very much, Beverly.
Thank you. Who would like to take that question?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. The relationships between Africa and America, I would like to focus in terms of trade, and I will link it to key issues that we have to put in place to make sure that we are able to facilitate trade that not only benefits one partner, but is a benefit of both partners. There's some organizations or some business partners have been quite hesitant to invest in Africa for certain reasons, that there is bureaucracy for one reason or the other, or there is massive corruption, or the legal framework is not in favor. Before we talk of the economic gains that we get between these two countries, we have to look at the political integration aspect, not political integration in such. I want to say we have to strengthen our institutions. We need to have stronger institutions in terms of the judicial systems, because if we see investors in our countries, but Tanzania in particular, they will fall out for a reason or the other, but the judicial systems happen to, some say are impartial, or some say are happening to take sides, and that is putting up a confronting situation among parties. So if we have stronger institutions that will make sure corruption does not really exist to an extent that it does, we are not saying corruption is only in Africa, but at least being stronger enough to curb corruption issues, to ensure that the NTBs that are there, these non-tariff barriers which are involved, are actually worked upon, we shall be able to see the gains within time. I can welcome my fellows.
Okay, that's a very interesting question regarding the relationship between the U.S. and Africa and how we see ourselves playing a role. It was really interesting to note that some of our fellows who were here last year got arrested because of trust issues. How I think we can contribute to this relationship is to make sure that we are not political as much as possible. We should be seen as advocates for growth for our communities. We should be seen as development agents rather than political tools. And I think that that will go a long way to strengthen the relationship between the U.S. and Africa, irrespective of whichever political party is in government in our respective countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to make a quick?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and we see it with the U.S. constantly also wanting to come in, and you see it with China aggressively having more projects in Africa. But I think we need to ultimately be prepared for it. So we need to be prepared in the sense that when projects are happening, we need to make sure that there's an even playing field. We're making sure that it's labor intensive, it's absorbing Africa. I think Barack Obama talks about a lot on value chain, remaining in Africa as opposed to value chain being outside of it. I think that's very, very important because that's how we're going to grow our own industries and to be able to reach our potential. I think we need to be prepared in terms of ethical leadership, Sometimes our political leaders can be hijacked by business interests, and they sometimes work with major corporations across the globe. So our leaders need to be ethical, they need to be principled, they need to ultimately work in the interests of their people. Now, it's a very difficult thing as to say that how do you prepare for that? We need to have the skills base and the education to be able to take in that growth and to multiply it so that our people can be a catalyst for even further growth when it comes. And I think that's important.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. I'm Dr. Golda Downer, Howard University College of Medicine. Mary, you mentioned the expansive field with Pan-Africanism. And so the youth like yourselves from the Caribbean, which is an extension of that, often leave our islands and leave the Caribbean for greener pastures. You have gotten such a great investment here. I'm going to take my seat as I ask you this question. What do you all feel you will do when you go back home, the resources that you will need to actually stay home and build on what you already have and not do like some of us and come overseas?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very, very critical issue because I think part of the reasons why we don't achieve much back home are related to human resource issues. And I was amazed when I was reading and they said, for my country, the total number of doctors in New York, Ghanaian doctors in New York alone was more than the total number of doctors in Ghana. It's quite interesting, and I once came across a convention, I can't remember the name, but it was a convention to which big signatories from Europe and America signed to pledge that they were not going to brain drain young Africans. But even after signing that convention, they even drained double the number that they were originally draining. So I see this more of a stakeholder agreement. I think that all stakeholders have to be committed to it because as human as we are, of course, there was one young doctor in my country who said, I can't walk to a showroom and say, I'm a doctor, so give me that Jaguar. I can't go to a real estate developer and say, I'm a doctor, so give me that house. And people still need to feed their families. They still need to get the best education for their children to secure their future. So as human as we are, if you're going to give me a better bit, I would fall for it. So what I would say is that governments back in Africa should make sure they put in place measures that are able to retain their human resource and also be able to distribute them appropriately to be able to bridge their inequities, not only in health but across disciplines. But also the countries who drain these people should be committed to having them stay back in their countries. I think that's what I would say to that. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, Eric.
Just to add to that, I think all across Africa, Africa faces a lot of challenges, be it corruption, be it unemployment, be it low level of education, tribalism in our systems. I think, but if our governments don't take these issues seriously, try to find solutions to these issues, many of us youths will always go out to look for greener pastures for one reason or the other. But I'm not just calling on our governments, I'm calling on us youths. We are the ones to create the impact. We don't sit down and say it's all about the government. We have to do something. If each and every one of us could decide that wherever I am, I'm about to create an impact, I'm about to create change, that is how we are going to make a change we want in Africa. Thank you.
I wish to add my voice. Thank you very much. Making sure that we stay within our home countries and we don't flee for greener pastures. I want to start reflecting that 2 years ago, Africa was celebrating 50 years, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2. And among other things, it was a reminder of Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. And it even goes further to setting up AU Agenda 2063, looking 50 years ahead, 2063. Where does it start? We stop the blame game. We are the young people today. We stop blaming government doesn't do this, government doesn't do that. We strive, we make a better Africa. It may not happen overnight. It may not happen while we are still as young and energetic as we are today, but we'll make it better for those who are younger and those who are yet to come. It starts from somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ashley Jones-Quaydu. I work for Customs and Border Protection, and recently my coworkers and I, we were discussing the empowerment of women economically. However, listening to what was said today, you all spoke about women being empowered economically, but not socially. So what do you think needs to take place in order to empower women socially?
Yes, Mary.
Yeah, thank you. I think I mentioned that women empowerment in Africa should be seen in a social cultural context. And what I see being the solution is to use men as a strategy, for want of a better expression, to use men as a strategy to achieving this. Because in Africa, before you are empowered as a woman, the man by your side has to agree that you are empowered. Yes, that is our culture, and so I think that we can begin to target men, educate them, let them understand that if your woman is empowered, you are just as empowered, and it doesn't make you lesser a man, or it doesn't make you weaker a man. And I don't see that we can achieve this without respecting the men first. So I would have thought that there should be a special program for men, using them as a strategy. Yeah, I think we are focused so much on women, but women can't get there by themselves. We need to accept the cultural differences, and we need to be able to make people feel comfortable within their cultural environment whilst progressing. That is what I think. So we should target the men. They should agree to empower the women. Then the women are empowered. Thank you.
Can I?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for targeting us. she got it right. She got it right there, because there is one of these barriers that really affect people's decision towards empowering women, which are the social-cultural barriers. You have religions, you have cultures, you have all on earth. There are certain religions that does not permit women to be empowered. You know, when you talk about Christianity, you talk about Muslim. But happily enough, even in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood has accepted to empower women to get to leadership position, which is very, very, very important, because we know how I'm not attacking any Muslim, but we know how they are so strong about putting the women behind and letting them stay at home. So I think it's very important to empower women. There are other barriers like the financial status. Most women are economically not resourced. They always depend on men to get things done. But things are changing and we have hope. Most women are becoming independent, and of course, are empowering us men, really. Proud of that. And the last one is the constitutional quota that I talk about. We need to wipe that out from our system and give everybody, men, women, equal rights for everything. Thank you.
Kennedy?
Well, just to add something, just a small bit, is when you talk about women's empowerment, I think we should realize that women have agency, right? Women are their own agents. They can, that they usually are extremely empowered and they know what the deal is. Women know what the deal is. That's why we have feminists and people who say patriarchy, because, and I believe in that. I believe like women have all the tools, sometimes have all the tools to criticize what they see around them. And what we need actually, sometimes this is a material issue, to be honest. In Africa, I mean, I'm very lucky to have women around me who are empowered, I mean, as you would say, and they're able to see around them and say that, you know, even though I'm educated, I've gone to school, I have, you know, I'm accomplished, I can't access certain areas, not because I am not empowered, it's because the system is rigged in such a way that, you know, before I start racing, I already have my shoelaces tied, and just before I'm, you know, ready, set, go, I fall down, because that's how it is. So I'm a big supporter in bringing men into the fold and being the change makers that we need them to be. But then again, like, I would never want the issue about women's empowerment to be about, you know, privileging men once again, you know, into the fold and saying, oh my goodness, what are we doing to the men? They should be respected too. So I think women should be at the center of women-centric initiatives. If women are not at the center, they feel alienated. They're not part of it. You just cash your check and go back home. So thank you.
Thank you, David. In the interest of time, I just want to caution everyone, we're getting short on time, but I want to make sure that everyone gets their opportunity to ask a question or make a comment, so if we could condense those a little bit and make them a bit shorter. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Francis Aguila. I work for the United States Marine Corps Center for Advanced Operational Culture. I know that's a mouthful. The key word is operational culture. And mine is not a question, but just to commend you on what you're doing, the good work that you're doing. We are kind of tired of seeing images in the media of poverty whenever we talk about Africa. Yes, Africa is poor, but it's one of the richest continents, if not the richest continent in terms of resources. But anytime we see images, it's children either with flies in their faces and all that, but we need to change that, and I think having these discussions, having your images there, will start changing that narrative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's interesting, there's a hashtag on social media right now on Twitter, I think it's hashtag what they don't show you about Africa, and there are people who are posting photographs of all the beautiful cities and children without flies on their faces, playing in the gardens and everything. So I encourage you, as I was prepping for this event last night, I saw that on Twitter, and I don't know if I have the hashtag just right, but it's something, what you don't see about Africa. So check that out. Let's see. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm going to be real quick. My name is Beverly Ezekoli, and I have a comment and a quick question. I'm very happy to see all of you, and you know, your role is very, very important to the youth in not just your countries, but also here. I was wondering if you had opportunity to meet any of the local groups, students in this Washington, D.C. area, because they really do need to be inspired. I will give you an example of my own children. I went to Nigeria when my first son was about 4 years old, and while we were there, he had to go to the doctor. He was not feeling well. Anyhow, to make a long story short, the doctor took a long time, just like they do here in America, to come to see him. But the doctors were black. And he kept saying, "Ma, where is the doctor? Where is the doctor?"
Oh,
And I kept saying, "That's the doctor." He said, "No, where is the doctor?" Because he was looking for another Caucasian, person. And I said, "No, we're in Africa. And the doctors are white, the doctors are black, the presidents are black." So what I say to you guys is that even though you're here for a short time, if you can maybe go to places where young African Americans are, and speak, let them see you. Let them know that they can be inspired by people like you. My son today is a doctor, my first son, the others didn't follow, but he was the one that asked me for the doctor who was a black doctor in Nigeria. So I'm so happy to see you guys, and don't leave the people at home, the young people at home. Go into the rural areas. Don't just go to the cities and sit on desks and, walk around, but be an advocate for all people, especially those who are voiceless, those who can't speak for themselves. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Enid Machayo. I'm originally from Uganda, so it's exciting to see you. And thank you so much, Mary, for talking about the different context of women empowerment. I never thought of it that way. It's wonderful. But my question is, in this Yali youth movement, do you have a way of connecting with the youth in the diaspora, like the first generation Americans, my children, who are in leadership role right here in America, but they have a love for Africa. They would like to come back to Africa, but they don't know how to connect with other young leaders. So I want to know how, and if you have a communication with them, or if that's in plan, so that you can link arms to improve Africa, because they have been raised here, born and raised here, but they are Africans, and you guys have been born and raised there, and that would be perfect union. That's my question.
Thank you. Do you want to take it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there is enough engagement in terms of with other youth groups. And I don't know whether that's because perhaps we're coming at a time when I think they're on holiday at the different, perhaps maybe universities. But I mean, of course, that's only just one group of people. But I think that we could actually do more of that. So a lot of the program has been focused. I mean, we've met a lot of both either politicians, we had academic sessions, but we've been in class as a group. We've been doing site visits to certain institutions, but I agree that there possibly could be more. I mean, we did take part in a panel discussion, but I wouldn't say that it was particularly very centric to young people. So I would, when I was at the mayor's office, we were doing something called job shadowing, and I mean, there was 3 of us there, and they invited us to perhaps say, what would we like to do next time, I think we're going to go back again next week. And one thing that I wanted to do, there's a lot of interns there, is I wanted to go with those interns to whatever community, particularly community-based things that they're doing, because those are young people who are probably getting their first opportunity. And to them, that means the world and it means the most. And I was already engaging in that process, but I would say that we could do more.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about young people like that, like people who have finished college, like my son works with the senator, those kinds of people, 24, and those ones.
I would say it's been perhaps maybe amongst some of the other fellows in America, and many of them they've already graduated, and they're going to end up working in either the foreign services, but there could be more. I think there could be more, and it's something perhaps the program could look into.
Mary.
Yes, thank you. That's a very important point. Being in Howard University gives me a special feeling that I don't know if other fellows in the other universities have. And I think my other colleagues here share the same experience, because you come across Black Americans who are even more passionate about Africa than some of the people who live in my country. It's amazing. And so far, we have met a couple of young people in this group, I learned about a monthly program which is aimed at encouraging social participation among the Black American community. I think this month, around 17th, we are going to have a dinner. We've been invited to take part in, a couple of us have been invited. We hope to go with some other fellows, and I think it's just the beginning of networking. We can still bring young people in this country, Black Americans, who are very passionate about Africa. In fact, I think I'm going to go back home more passionate about Africa than I came. I'm serious. So thank you. It's a great point. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Samhara Raya. I want to welcome you and thank you for your comments. Just as a member of the African diaspora, to that question, I just ran up. Many of us are organizing and working with YALI, IREX, Mandela Fellow Programs, and we'll be meeting you July 22nd as part of the Diaspora African Women's Network. And what we want is to learn from you what kind of support and what kind of things we should think about after the program is over. So you've been on a whirlwind tour and itinerary, but I think what's important is that bright African minds around the world can connect with each other, but also transfer skills and knowledge. So those of us in the diaspora with access and resources and education that your communities may not be able to have, we need to know what we should be doing when this is over. So to everyone, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you on July 22nd. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much. My name is Israel Twabu. I'm an African Union youth volunteer, and I mention that because I think volunteering really helps integrate the diaspora of the African community. So you have seen the fellows here, you have seen us. Please come forward after this and let's network. We have the Africa-Youth.org website, Africa-Youth, so you could see possibilities of engaging with the African Union. And I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Ethiopian government that just released 4 journalists and 3 bloggers. And we welcome such. And I would also like to make 2 recommendations, very short ones. One is on education. We need the knowledge. The African diaspora was the basis of the Pan-African movement. So we need education, we need to work on that. And second, we need to empower institutions. Democracy lasts longer in institutions than individuals. Please help us create those institutions. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is G. Step Safari from Americo alum. First of all, I want to reiterate something that I believe, as Mr. Gumbi said, about how when foreign countries or states treating Africa, they lump us all in one bowl, instead of picking whatever country they need to deal with. I just wanted to reiterate that it's very important that we do that. And secondly, it's a question actually I want to find out how feasible you think what you are learning here is going to be as far as the application of it to Africa or the African countries. Because for instance, I went to high school in Ghana, and we did all these theory, we learned about all these theories, scientific theories and stuff, and there were not resources to put those theories into application. So how do you think what you are learning, quote unquote, the theories you are learning here are going to help you in the application part of it when you go back? Thank you.
Okay. I think that the greatest thing about this program is the fact that they do offer resources afterwards to be able to do a project. Of course, it's not just given out, there's a process to it, but because it's the only way in which you can learn something and be able to say that, well, let me try it, let me go test it, let me even start out small, because otherwise then we will learn, we will leave, and we will just perhaps maybe just have the experience and just the knowledge. But we can be able to go and influence, because once you start doing those small projects and you start working even with your other fellows, you begin to influence. Now, a lot of the people who are on the program have have either done something or have already started projects, have already started NGOs, etc. So they're already in one way or the other connected, or already slightly influential, or momentum is already on their side. And so all this does is it assists you to be able to even gather further momentum, which will only influence those networks in other countries. I don't know if others want to add,
Mary?
But I think that's where it best assists.
Okay, thank you. Talking about feasibility of implementing all that we are learning here, in as much as cultures differ, I think that the world is almost a global village now because of advancement in technology, diffusion of knowledge. People are sharing experiences. You just have to press a button and then you are communicating with somebody in the far corner of the globe. But I think the key issue in seeing it becoming feasible is to adapt it to context. That has always been my thoughts. Because it's not a copy and paste kind of thing, because if you're going to do that, you're going to have a lot of resistance from people that are supposed to help you to see this happen. So I think that the key thing is to adapt everything we are learning here into our context when we get back home. Because even from one African country to the other one, there's difficulty with culture. People usually protect their territories. Of course, that is what defines them. That is acceptable. But then, so then you can imagine when you're going to copy from outside Africa and go and paste in Africa. So I would just say that we should adapt everything we learn here in context, and we should be able to see results. Thank you.
Pamela, it's the last word.
All right, thank you very much. I'm glad you asked this question, because you give us an opportunity to share how feasible it is. The way the program itself, the way it is tailored, I will speak for us who are in Harvard, because that's what I know best. It's tailored to meet the needs of us, even from diverse backgrounds. We have medical doctors, we have lawyers, we have educators, we have policymakers, legislators, policy analysts, but the skills that we are given, it may not be on the financial aspect that how are we going to apply it, but the skills that we attain right here surely would add value to what we are doing back home, because we are already having things that we are working on. So this one impacts and it enhances our capacities in what we are doing.
All right. That wraps up our time for this Africa Policy Breakfast. Let's thank our fabulous panel here. And thanks to you all for joining us. Have a good day.